Hey, what's up, youth workers? My name is Carl Romas. I get the awesome privilege of leading a middle school, high school, college, and a young adults at Bayside Church, a multi-site church in Northern California. And in my 16 years of youth ministry, one of the things I get all the time as I'm talking to youth pastors, as I'm talking to volunteers is Carl, how do you help set the environment for a successful night of youth ministry? So this doesn't matter if you're meeting on a Wednesday night, Tuesday night, Sunday night, or Sunday morning, but I always tell folks is you got two options. You can either be a thermometer or you can be a thermostat. Now, what does a thermometer do? A thermometer gauges the temperature of a room, but a thermostat changes that temperature. It changes the temperature of the room. And I think sometimes we look at a youth gathering with young people and we say, oh, it's up to the worship leader to set the tone for the night. It's up to the pastor preaching to set the tone for the night. But you volunteer, brave man, brave woman, that is your job. The time between the parking lot and the pews is the most critical time, I think, of a youth evening, of a youth gathering. What do I mean there? I mean, you have an opportunity to set the expectation of what a student is going to experience in that gathering time. Meaning, like, when a student shows up, they're looking and saying, hey, is there somebody here who knows who I am? That's your opportunity to get face to face with a student and say, hey, I know your name. I remember one of the things I did early on in ministry is, like, I had a hard time remembering students' names. Anybody ever been there? Yeah? I would just pick out one thing about a kid and I would remember that thing. And that would be our connection point. So I remember this student, Anthony, and he used to wear different hats every week. So my question for Anthony each week was like, oh, hey, what hat you got? What team is that? And sometimes I would know the team, but it was an opportunity to engage with him before service had started. And what that does is that brings down his tension. That brings down the walls that a student has built up. And they're like, okay, now someone knows me. Now there's an easy opportunity to engage. One of the other things I do, and again, it's just a small nuance of setting the temperature, setting the tone for that evening, is I try to put a hand on the shoulder of every student I interact with. Now, I know it's like, oh no, creepy youth guy touching everybody. No, come on, get here with me. What I mean is, you never know what that student's coming from. And a simple touch on the shoulder is communicating to that student that I see you, that I see you. And doesn't matter where you came from, doesn't matter what you're going through, this little hand on your shoulder is just showing you that I care about you. Another one of the cool things that you can do pre-service is be engaged with students. I know you're coming from work, you're coming from school, you're coming from your own busy life, and sometimes it's those last few minutes where, okay, I got to go over my notes for what we're going to do in small group later on. But being engaged with students is one of those things that just, again, helps to bring down the walls. So whether you got 9 square set up, whether you got a carpet ball, whatever activities are happening around, you want to grab a couple of students and you want to engage with them in that time. I've even seen some small groups, some volunteers do this where it's like, hey, we're going to get together and I'm going to tell you, student, where we're going for tonight with the message and start getting into the small group questions before. This is a perfect time to do your highs and lows of the week. Again, you're just trying to engage as much you can with that student before that service or program starts. Now, the beginning part's just one piece. I think the secondary piece is what happens on the back end of service. So oftentimes you may, when in our context, we go from service, then into small groups for an hour, and then it's dismissal time. And we want to run for our cars or get to a Chick-fil-A or an In-N-Out as soon as possible, right? But it's taking those last few minutes, again, to re-engage with students. What you're telling them by spending a couple minutes post-service, post-program with them is, hey, again, I see you. You're important to me. I value the time that you've put into this in coming here this evening or this afternoon or this morning. And again, it's simple things that you can do. It's, hey, let's go grab a shake after youth group together. Hey, I could see you had some questions in group that we didn't get to. Can I answer those questions for you? And this one is gold. Ready? Get this one. Take that opportunity to walk a student to their car, especially if they're getting picked up by a parent. this is gonna play double for you. See, as I walk a student to their car, I'm getting that one-on-one time with them. Even if it's just a short walk, but again, it's like, hey, this is me and you time. But then also, if I get an opportunity to say hey to their parent, now I'm showing the face of the ministry to their mom or to their dad or whoever's taking care of them. It's like, hey, this is the person that's pouring into my student. It gives me an opportunity to talk kindly about them. This one's for free. Every time you engage with a parent, when you walk a student to a car, tell them something good about their son or their daughter. That is just gold for parents. It's so encouraging for them to hear from other adults that their son or daughter is doing well, even if you have to make it up. I always say, hey, this is a great kid. This place wouldn't be the same without him. All right? Which is true. There are great kids in the place, wouldn't be the same without him. But really taking the time every single week to say, hey, I'm going to make an intentional point to engage with students before service. I'm going to make an intentional point to engage with students after service. These two things, I think, really help to take the tone of the youth group away from the program, and it makes it about the person. Because really, that's what every student is looking for. Every student is looking, is there someone here who knows me? Is there someone here who cares about me? And that's your job as a volunteer, is to be that person that, I know you, I'm that person that cares about you. And I'm making specific efforts really to engage you in that way. So again, it's simple tactics. Like on your phone, I'd open a note on your phone and say, hey, youth group. And every student that you meet that night, just really right after you finish talking to them, just take out your phone, write a quick description of who they are, write down what they talked to you about, and make a point as you're getting out of your car to go into youth group that next week, that I'm gonna look at the note and I'm gonna say, okay, boom, here's Allison, and she just had a dance recital this week. She told me that last week. So I'm gonna walk up to Allison, I'm like, hey, Allison, how was that dance recital? What dance did you do? What song was it to? Even though you didn't go to it, Allison's going, whoa, you remembered that I had that this week. And again, that brings down those walls, and you've begun to set the temperature, to set the tone for that evening. This is so valuable because, again, as students walk in, what we're trying to do is get them to a point where they are most receptive to hear the gospel, where they're the most receptive to engage in their small groups. But what happens is when their walls are up so high, that's difficult. But your job, your privilege as a youth worker is to help bring those walls down so that they can have a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. Well, I hope these tips worked out great for you. I think, remember, every week, do I want to be a thermostat or do I want to be a thermometer? Go ahead and set the temperature for your group this week.